Another Dooley Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into Another Dooley Noted Podcast. Of course, as always, presented by Titan MRI. We are here live in the Shack Allen Mercandani Studios, and I hope you guys had a good weekend, and I hope you're having a good day today. But it was really a fun weekend. We've got a great show for you today. Cornelius Ingram is going to join us in just a little bit. We'll talk to him about all the things he's got going on. Obviously, what he's doing as a coach, it's unbelievable. And of course, we'll talk a little bit about his past and being a great player, and could have been one of the greats, really. If he doesn't blow that knee out his junior year, yeah. So we got him. I think we got Chris Doring Friday. We're still not 100% sure on that. I think Coach Spurrier may be joining us next week. Coach Spurrier has his award that they're about to present. They're actually doing something live. I think is it live tonight? Live tonight on ESPN or SEC Network? Yeah, with Coach Spurrier, and at least on YouTube or Facebook. So, where they're going to announce the winner of the award, the Steve Spurrier Award, which goes to the best first-year coach. So I can think of 3 or 4 right now that are certainly good candidates. So it'll be interesting to see who ends up winning that award. But maybe we'll get Coach Spurrier on. I think we're going to get him on next week, and we'll talk about that, and also Billy Napier and all the good stuff that Billy's doing and continues to be. They continue to make inroads in recruiting. They continue to hire what seem to be really great people. Just Friday, up above us here, advisors here at Spurrier's, they had a big party, and Mike Peterson's there already. He's ready to go, and it's just funny. I mean, what all this stuff that's going on. Sometimes you sit there and go, really, do you really need an assistant nutritionist for green leafy substances? I mean, do you need all that? I don't know, but it all we know is what was going on wasn't working in those terms. But it was a really cool weekend, I think, for a lot of people. And I was thinking about this, man. Gator fans have had some bad weekends lately. I mean, look, 2 of the worst ones ever. I think, the worst one ever was definitely when Keontae collapsed and Florida lost to LSU that night. It kind of made you realize it was just a game, but it was a pretty big one. And that, guy throws a shoe, and we don't ever forget that. But Keontae Johnson, we didn't know he was going to be alive. I mean, you're even sitting at that game going, I was numb at that game, numb. And then I was numb again. But that was a really bad weekend. It seems like there's been a lot of those lately, where they lose in a bunch of sports or something tragic happens, and it's just weird. But again, I've talked about this more and more, or not more and more, but I've talked about it many times. When you have it get as good as it got for Florida, sometimes you're going to have downs. Everybody has them. Everybody goes, oh, no, not everybody. Yeah, everybody has bad days. Everybody has bad weeks. Everybody has bad years. Everybody has bad maybe couple of years. You saw that at Alabama football. What did they go 2-9 that one year with Mike DeBose? Just a disaster. And they were supposed to win the whole thing that year. You saw it in Kentucky with basketball last year. You've seen it with, Kansas having struggles. They always win the Big 12, but certainly getting knocked out in the first round is not considered a successful year for them. At any rate, my point being, you have ups and downs, and the downs have been a lot lately. So it was kind of nice to have a really fun weekend. And I think a lot of people did. If you went to gymnastics on Sunday, unbelievable atmosphere, really loud sellout. First game or first meet ever on broadcast national TV. So, I guess there's only 3 of those, right? We have ABC, CBS, and NBC. I can tell you the day when I was a kid, the day we got ABC, it was such a big deal. We were going to get 3 channels now. We start looking through to see what's on, and I go, oh man, the Beatles channel, the Beatles cartoon is on. They got a Beatles cartoon, so I was thrilled. But to have it on there, that was really cool, and then to have it end the way it did, Florida gets 2 10s to close it out. It's crazy. I asked some people that know. I said, mate, do you think maybe they went, hey, we're on ABC, and let's end this thing with some drama. Let's script this. But no, this was, Naya Reid's, there's no question that hers was a 10. And then, of course, when she does a 10, and then Trinity Thomas comes in after her and does something that's even better and is clean, just as clean, she's got to get 10. And you can't go up from 10. That's as high as you can go. So that was tremendous. A lot of fun for all the people that were there. I'm sure you guys had a great time. Women's basketball winning over Alabama also happened. That was good on Sunday. Men's basketball won a basketball game. The Gators are not going to go 0-18 in the SEC. And there was a moment when I thought they might. I really was, but they're not going to. They played better. They played a team that's not as good. There's no doubt about that. Although they did hit some tough shots again. But Florida wins that game, and that was important, especially to see what Kawasi Reeves did. That was pretty cool because he had it going, obviously. And what do you know, 14, and that save he made at the end of the game was huge in that game. Tennis wins. I know they lost on Friday, but they beat number 3 Texas on Sunday. So they win, and the Cowboys are out of the playoffs. Man, what could be better? That's the perfect weekend. And I played golf yesterday with my friend Keith Miller, who owns Big Mills, and I think Big Mills is about to come on as a sponsor with us. So we had a great time playing golf. It was just nice to be out. Nice to be out in the beautiful day. And Karen and I actually went out at night to One Love and had a couple drinks while we were listening to some jazz music. So we were everywhere, man. We were doing it all up. I tell you what we're going to do. We got a lot to talk about and a lot to get to. So we're going to go ahead and take a break right now. When we come back, we're going to bring in Cornelius Ingram, the great Gator football and basketball player, I might add, and also, of course, a great coach doing a great job right now. So I can't wait to talk to him, one of the best to ever play at the University of Florida. We look forward to that here on Another Dooley Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Shaq Allen Mercandone Studios.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Car accidents, trucking accidents, motorcycle accidents, and wrongful death. If injured or killed by the negligence of others, who will fight for the compensation you deserve? Shaq Allen Mercadante, 5 lawyers, more than 100 years of combined legal experience, millions in settlements and verdicts. Call Shaq Allen Mercadante, 371-3000. Rebuilding lives.
Another Duly Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. More than 6,000 veterans take their lives each year, with more than 500 of them occurring in Florida. The Fire Watch Council was established to unite our warfighters and allies to stand watch and build a mutual aid network of veterans and civilian volunteers across Florida trained to identify risk factors of veterans in crisis and to direct those veterans to needed resources. You can invest an hour to join our support network by becoming a watchstander to stand in the gap and support our veterans. Go to thefirewatch.org to learn how to get involved, get off the sidelines, and take a stand on behalf of our veterans. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where, everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Okay, we are back on Another Duly Noted Podcast, of course, presented by Titan MRI from the Shack Allen Mercandani Studios. We have all of our good stuff up ahead, including the Alex Wesley Construction 12-pack. I think you'll like this one. Adam's Rib Co. To Go, Gator of the Weekend. And we're a lot to choose from, finally. Hester and Kipke Monday Spreads, 3 things presented by Hand Law, and the Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks. All that coming to you from the Shack Allen Mercandani Studios. But right now, coming to you is the great Cornelius Ingram, CI, as he's known around town. And, of course, he is not only was a great player at Florida, but now has become a great coach. Who was the first person to call you CI?
Probably maybe Runs Up. Yeah, maybe Runs Up. Then, of course, when Coach Meyer got to campus, most of the players were already calling me that. So it was definitely something that started once I got to college. So
yeah, so always, it wasn't. Like no.
CI, yep, it came from college. And, when I'm out and about, I normally know when a relative's trying to get my attention by calling my name, they would call me by my middle name. If I knew it was a Gator fan, and they would say CI, and I would automatically know, okay, well, they have some affiliation with the University of Florida. Right. They're just Gator fans. Yep. So CI came about once I got to college.
What is your middle name?
My middle name is Jamel.
So now, if they call you Jamel, it's serious.
My relatives, now I can give you the rundown right now. People from Hawthorne, they call me Slate.
Slate?
Yep, Slate.
So where does that come from?
It was a really good basketball player back in the day. From here, he was actually, physically built. They were like, "Oh, you remind me of this guy named Slate." So, Slate is a Hawthorne nickname, CI college nickname. Relatives normally call me by my middle name, which is Jamel. So, I can kind of know, what areas people are from by what they call me.
It would be a great, like a Bachelor or something. People would come up and ask you all these questions about, and you go, I know where you're from now.
Yeah.
But so you're coming out of Hawthorne. Obviously, you're a great athlete, as everybody knows, and you're getting recruited by a lot of schools, and you end up going to Florida, which is, of course, nearby. Was that hard for you, though, not to take some of the other schools that were far away seriously because you knew they were also good fits?
Yeah, it was very tough to be quite honest. I can remember when Bobby Bowden and the entire coaching staff would come to Hawthorne, whether it was to the school or my parents' house. My dad would basically stay in the room. Of course, he was a Gator fan, and he let it be known. And you know, when you go through that process, you feel like no matter, you know, who stops in to see you, you know, parents, you have to show up. You got to speak. You got to make sure the guest doesn't need anything to drink. My dad wouldn't come out the room if the Florida Gators wasn't in our living room. And I'm just being honest. And there's
Really?
other coaches who came by at that particular time as well. But whenever the Gators would come by, my dad would basically have a barbecue. Oh, yeah, he would invite other people over. Yeah. And I tell people all the time, if I hadn't went to the University of Florida, he probably would have disowned me for those 4 or 5 years that I was at college. So, but it was still a great process, you know, coaching now and seeing the guys go through it. Of course, it's a lot different from when I came out of school, but whether I'm just, you know, sharing personal experiences going through the recruitment process with players of mine or players at other schools, I always tell them to enjoy it. You know, I took my visits as well at other schools, but deep down inside, I knew I wanted to be a Gator, and I definitely wanted to stay close to home.
Absolutely. And what now, when your dad's cooking barbecue up for the Gators, what's his specialty there? What is he cooking up on that grill?
Rib tips. Oh man,
Ooh.
probably one of his, rib tips, probably one of his favorites. He's actually really good with sides, baked beans. My mom normally does the macaroni and cheese. But he tried to mix it up. Of course, he always have some chicken on there as well. But the rib tips are my personal favorite. Today, he's actually set up today here. Like I said, we have a shootout all day. So he's over in the field close by the gym, and the barbecue smells really good. So I plan on getting me some after we play. I don't want to eat before my girls play.
That's great.
But he's actually set up right now.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, the Hawthorne girls are in the shootout that they have there at Hawthorne. They don't play till 4:00 today, right?
Yeah, right at 4. Yep.
Yeah, and how good are you? I mean, I know you've won a state championship there, but how good are they going to be this year?
We have a chance, man. I'll be honest. We have a chance. It's hard for me to not see the bigger picture. I have 2 freshmen who could probably start for anyone. One is a big, and the other one is a point guard, and they're just not freshmen. And then both are starters. But just the makeup of my team, a lot of the girls have played a lot of ball for our program because, of course, here we're able to play, you know, the middle schoolers. Right. If they're good enough to be on varsity, you can play a varsity sport. So, you know, I've been fortunate enough to be a part of some great teams that I've had the opportunity to coach. But, you know, a lot of times, even when these girls, you know, don't get the playing time that they really want at the beginning of their career, when they look back, they're kind of like, oh, man, I'm just a sophomore, you know, because they played as a 7th grader or 8th grader. So it helps us once we get into the playoffs, once we make it to, you know, state championship games, because even if the girl is young on the team, she's had a lot of basketball experience because of our setup here at Hawthorne. So we got a chance to be really good. We're probably behind a lot of people as far as games because, you know, we felt like we should have a special football season, and we did. Yeah. So we would try to schedule later on in the year. And some of those games you can't really make up, but we knew myself, and then, of course, my girls' basketball assistant, he's the offensive line coach for the football team. So we try to split time even when we were in football season. Right after, my girls would be in the gym basically inside, you know, already stretched and ready to start practicing because they knew we had a long football season. We had to push practice back. But that's what I signed up for, and it's been going great.
And you were one play away in football, right?
Yeah, one play. We had a bad snap on punt. Of course, you know, I don't want to say we would have automatically won the game, but our defense they were playing great. We hadn't given up a touchdown since the very first quarter, in the beginning of the first quarter. And then after that, we settled down and we played some great defense all night. We had a bad snap. Again, I think my punter He's actually a 8th grader or a freshman. And all year we would say, if it's a bad snap, no matter what, get it off. Get it off. So our long snapper basically rolled it, and he picked it up, and it was a guy in his lap, and he tried to get the kickoff, and he did everything the coaching staff told him to do all year. He just tried to get it off, and he was a young kid, and it's funny we're even bringing this up because the long snapper was a senior linebacker of mine who basically had a great year. He had a great year all year, and even last year as well. He went to the bench and he had his head down. I kind of just went over and rubbed his shoulder, and I lifted his head up. And I knew at that moment he thought everything was his fault. And, you're talking about a 17, 18-year-old kid putting all this pressure on themselves. And we didn't win the state championship, Pat, but I'll be completely honest, that kid used football as a savior. I'll be dead honest, because he was going down the wrong path 2 years ago. So when you see a kid like that do everything necessary on and off the field, on pace to graduate, of course, and hopefully end up with a football scholarship, that's what it's about. So I couldn't rip the kid at that time because, I knew what he was doing for the betterment of the team. And all of my kids that I coach, all of them have had like personal issues or things they've had to overcome. And it's hard to do, especially when you have outsiders saying, hey, you should be playing more, or you should be the starter. And we would just come together as a team, and they would really buy into what myself and this coaching staff was putting on the table. And I think that's why we've had a lot of success over the years.
Yeah, wait till NIL comes to high school football.
Man, I know, right?
That'll be crazy.
Well, it'll be crazy.
You talk about the things you're able to share with your team and with your players, and whether it's football or girls basketball, obviously. Yep. But one thing you can share is that, look, I still got drafted in the 5th round. I couldn't even play my senior year. Yeah. And if I had played my senior year, I wouldn't have been in the 5th round. And who knows where I would have gone from there.
Yep. And that's my message, to our kids all the time. And they, of course, me being from here, they've heard it a few times. But and you hit it right on the head. You can overcome whatever you want to overcome, as long as you put your mind to it and you really work extremely hard for it. And those are the kind of kids that we coach, because over the last 2 or 3 years, we've had kids show up from other schools. And of course there would be talk, oh man, CI, he should be at UF. He's the best recruiter in the area. You don't have to recruit kids when you have success. And I'll be honest again, a lot of the times some of these other coaches have given up on these kids or said, hey, you can't play in this program. So we would get a kid and have to build them up from ground zero and make sure that they're confident every day, not just in ball, but even when they walk into the classroom. I'm big on yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, with all of my players. And someone stopped me the other day, and they had an issue with me allowing, well, they didn't have an issue because it's still my decision, but they were like, man, I see a lot of former players on your sideline, and you don't think, that's a distraction? I said, no, it's fine. I say, those kids who show up, those are the kids who help change our culture. And not just, athletics, so of course I'm going to allow them on the sideline, and a lot of them are successful young men or women, have jobs or in school. But I allow them to be on the sideline, and not one time, Pat, I've ever had to turn around and say, hey man, shut up. Can't you see we're coaching? Can't you see it's a big game? So there's some mutual respect there. I do things a little different, in my coaching style. And it works for our program.
We got a couple of people asking some questions on Facebook. Nat Blaylock says, coach him up, CI. On Twitter, Jared wants to know how your experience was under Billy Donovan. And I was going to ask you that question. Was it him coming to you, or you coming to him when you decided to play basketball for a while?
Well, as an eighth grader, I was able to kind of go over and spend some time with Billy because I would always attend his camp during the summer.
Right.
I think my basketball recruitment process probably started a little earlier than football. So I was thinking I would be strictly a basketball player. So Billy Donovan started recruiting me almost as a ninth grader. And we had a really good relationship before I even got to college. So making that decision, of course, Coach Donovan had a lot to do with it because we had a great personal relationship. I had a lot of respect for him. And then, of course, he was building a great program even before I was there. But being under Coach Donovan, coaching girls basketball, there's certain sets that we would run on offense that I learned from Coach Donovan.
Really?
And at this particular time, Coach Donovan and Urban Meyer were like two of the most confident guys I had been around. And they took a lot of pride in coaching and what they were able to do as coaches. And that's why they had a lot of success. But Coach Donovan, still to this day, if I run into him, great conversation, great dude, always ask about the family. But it was a fun time playing for him because I think he was definitely in his prime. He was a great recruiter and a great coach, and it showed. But once I made my decision, I got a phone call from Coach Meyer, and he was like, "Hey, I heard you're one of the best athletes on the team. I want to see what you can do in my offense." We were in the NCAA tournament at the time. I think the next day, I think we were playing like Villanova. So that had to be 2004, 2005. We were playing Villanova maybe in the second round of the NCAA.
05,
yeah. I told Billy, I said, "Hey, well, the new coach want me to kind of focus on football, so this will be my last year playing basketball." And then, of course, the 2 years after that, they won the national championship. I wasn't a part of it. But yeah, that's the story.
Just hung around, stayed on the bench. You'd have gotten one of those little pieces of net,
Yes. The net
through it
inside my hat. Yeah.
Well, it was a giddy time around there that time of year. I mean, I remember the day I'm out in Pensacola giving a speech, and somebody calls me and goes, "Hey, CI blew his knee out." And so I tried to find out, and nobody would. It stayed quiet for like 3 or 4 days. And man, I just remember being. And I don't think you talked until you talked to me towards the end of the season out at a Hal Brady Field.
Yep. And it was definitely a tough moment for me because even in practice when it happened. Major Wright, I running around and he kind of just grabbed my shoulders and I felt fine until the next morning I woke up. My knee was almost the size of a grapefruit, man. It was huge. And I went in, I told, the trainer, I say, well, I might need to get this checked out as soon as possible. So I went over to the orthopedic right off of 34th and I'm waiting on the results for the MRI, and I could tell the doctors didn't want to tell me. A lot of the people that worked in there, a couple of them were from Hawthorne, so there was a lot of buzz going on throughout the entire building after the MRI. So they had Coach Meyer come in to tell me, and we're in two-day practice. I could see Charlie Strong car pull up, Urban Meyer, all of the coaches' vehicles pulled up. And I'm thinking to myself, because I didn't know my ACL was torn, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know who's downstairs, but they must be dying. I thought it was a teammate of mine downstairs that they were going to check on because I felt fine. I ended up finishing practice full speed that day. So I had no clue, of course, until the day afterwards. And Coach Meyer came in and he broke the news to me. And I could remember him just sharing about, how the entire team cried. Once I was able to go home, Tim Tebow, Percy Harvin, all of the guys came by to see me and actually almost spent the night with me because it was a tough moment. It was a tough moment. I think I never played with a jammed finger before, so now I'm about to go through a major surgery, not being able to play my senior year and just knowing the high expectations we had for our team going into that year. It was tough, but the coaching staff rallied around me. Of course, the players did, and they made me feel like I was a part of that national championship that year. Every single day, the guys would come into the training room when I would rehab. The coaches would call and text or come in there as well. So that was big for me. That was absolutely big for me.
How close were you to trying to get into that last game against Oklahoma? Because I know you were talking about dressing out.
I practiced down in South Florida leading up to the game. Yes, I practiced. I felt great. I really wanted to play.
You're not supposed to come back from an ACL that fast.
No, not that fast. Not that fast. It was tough. I couldn't even stand on the sideline during that year to watch the games. Yeah. Then I would be home or I would be inside at the facility while the games was going on, and I could watch it on TV, and I would just have to walk out because it was eating me up. But I was able to rehab at a strong pace, and it came along pretty fast. And I know a lot of the fans and a lot of the media, social media outlets, they hadn't seen me going through this process. So senior day for me was huge because I was the last player to run out of the tunnel out of the seniors. And this was the first time all year that the fans and a lot of the other people had an opportunity to see me, and I was able to run out. Mm-hmm. Probably the best feeling I've ever had. One of the loudest times I've ever heard the Swamp. So things like that meant a lot to me. Knowing that the fans cared, your teammates really cared, but it was definitely tough. It was definitely tough, but I was able to get through it and rebound and still live out my dream.
Before I let you go, I know you got big news because I saw you the other night, and apparently you've gotten engaged now.
Yes.
So
yes. Yep. I appreciate it.
I have some jokes here, but I'm going to save them for later. Okay. So
okay.
But I mean, you're engaged. So when do you know when you're getting married?
So the wedding is set for October the 23rd, which is a Sunday.
So not a Gator game. That's all we need.
Not a Gator game. Not a Gator game. Of course, my fiance parents are Florida alum. And they have season tickets, and they're big Gators, of course. My parents would love to see the Gator games. So it kind of worked out. At first, you wanted to be on a Saturday, but they didn't have any Saturdays in 2022. And she's ready to make it happen. So it's definitely is on a Sunday, and it works out for all of us.
Well, I'll just tell you right now, I saw her. I talked to her for a little bit. You definitely outkicked her coverage. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So
I'm told that all the
time. We'll let you go. And thanks so much, CI, for joining us. And it's always great talking to you. And it's always been great talking to you. And do you think you'll ever move on from Hawthorne and maybe do something else and maybe try to get into the college football?
Yeah. I've had some options kind of present themselves over the years. I think the timing for me is everything. Our school was on the verge of being shut down a couple of years back.
Yeah,
I wanted to be a part of the movement to make sure, the place I grew up, the hallways I walked, that the school would stay open for a lot of these other students that are coming behind me. So it's something I think about. I think right now the timing is right for me to be here. My son is actually a really good freshman. He wants to break every record that I hold here, so it'll be tough for me to up and leave. And his time is definitely coming. He's a great player, a great student. And he wants everything that I went through at Hawthorne High School, he wants to experience. So he wants to wear that jersey, or he wants to break that record. So it's a priceless moment for me here, coaching at a place where I'm from. I know everyone, and I'm able to coach a lot of kids who need, a strong, positive male figure in their lives. So later on, I know it'll happen, but right now, me being at Hawthorne is the best thing for me.
Or you could just move your son to like a Scambia or something, and he can't break any of your records, right?
Yeah. Take him somewhere else.
He can go break Emmett's records or whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Cornelius, we really appreciate you coming on. Jamel, I'm going to start calling you from now on. Okay?
Yeah, Jamel. There you go.
Yeah, I'm going to start calling you Jamel. But thanks again for coming on, taking the time out to be on the podcast, and we really appreciate one of the greats of all time, Cornelius Ingram. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, that was fun. That was fun. I learned stuff about Cornelius Ingram that I did not know. We do need to get one of these things done now, and then we'll get the other ones done later. Guess who's calling? You'll never guess. Kelsey, of course. He always calls during the podcast. There's something about it. Anyway. Yeah. So can we get the Alex Wesley Construction 12-pack up? Can we do that? So we'll do that right now. And again, thanks so much to Cornelius, who was just, there was some good stuff there. Rib tips. He's got the rib tips, I guess, is what I need to go after. All right, the Alex Wesley Construction 12-pack. We do this every week on Mondays. Alex Wesley Construction, love where you live. This is let's say right now we had a 12-team playoff in football. Well, we can't get, in basketball, we can't get one in football, so we might as well do one in basketball. Again, it's pretty amazing, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But this is what it would look like according to me if I was doing the voting, if I was picking 12 teams. And it does look very chalky and very blue-bloodish, but that's the way it's kind of gone this year. And that's why the college basketball March Madness is so great, because it doesn't matter that if I think these are the 12 best teams, some team that's going to be ninth could end up winning the whole thing. You never know. That's what makes it interesting. But I would have Auburn number one, man. I tell you, they are playing great. Jabari Smith is what you thought he would be. You saw him against Florida. Very good. They've got a bunch of other players. Flanagan is just tough. I mean, they bring a 7-1 guy in there who transferred from North Carolina, who blocks shots, blocking 4 a game. I think they're the best team in the country. Now, it's funny because I think Auburn actually had more first place votes than Gonzaga this week, but because the way that they added up. If you get one, you get 25 points. If you get a second place vote, you get 24. And that's the way you do it. It could be time, because we have seen this before where actually Tim Tebow would have won a second Heisman if they just went by first place votes. So maybe you should just count the first place votes. But anyway, Auburn's one. I have Gonzaga too. I love watching them play. Timmy is really good. Baylor 3, although I have a little higher than I think the AP does because they've had a couple of losses, but that those happen, and this is what's great. What makes college basketball more I'm not saying it makes it better than college football, because college football still is everything I love. But college basketball, you can have a slump. You can have a little run where you don't play good. I mean, obviously Florida just went through a 3-game losing streak. But it's not like they played terrible, but they didn't play good. The 2020 game sticks out, giving up 20 offensive rebounds and 20 turnovers to Alabama. That's how you lose that game. But you can have that slump and then bounce back from it. And that's kind of where Baylor is. I've got LSU 4. I think they're really good, although Will Wade's a nut. My daughter is not happy with him because after that game, he just was screaming and yelling the whole time. Calm the F down, man. Number 5, I've got Arizona. They're very good again this year, and that guy's doing a great job. Again, this was a place caught in turmoil. 6, Purdue, although Purdue may be better than that. And 7, I've got Kentucky, and I know Kentucky right now is better than that. I just keep waiting for Kentucky to kind of go into – they have that weird end of the season right before the SEC tournament slump, and I'm waiting for that to happen. And then, of course, they win the SEC tournament, which I think's in Tampa this year. And then, they go to the big tournament. We see what happens there. 8, Houston. Number 9, Villanova, which is Villanova has snuck up on me, how good they are. I didn't think they were very good early in the year, but they've turned out to be good. Kansas is number 10, and, of course, they have the great home court advantage. Duke 11, going through a lot right now. Duke is struggling. Coach Krzyzewski has been struggling a little bit, physically, and that's been a problem for them. And then number 12, Illinois. And Tennessee is a team that I almost put in there, just outside the bubble there. They're really good as well. The one team that I don't have in there that was in there almost all year and just keeps sliding out, Alabama. They are struggling to get wins. So, and that's something that I thought was interesting that Mike White said after the game on Saturday, after Florida did beat South Carolina, and he said, look, you can get all these guys together. Now you got this older team, but they've got to learn how to win, because where they weren't winning. That's one reason they wanted to go somewhere else. They wanted to go somewhere and try to win. And you still have to learn how to win games. And then you have to learn how to win at an elite level, which is totally different. So that's been going on as well. So I think we will go ahead and now take a break. I'm trying to read what I wrote over here. Oh, yeah. Some transfer portal stuff. The guy, Jaleel Billingsley, the tight end that we talked about a lot, who's so talented but just doesn't seem to get it. And now he's out at Alabama, and now he's going to Texas. Drew Sanders, another good player that I think a lot of people were looking at to see where he went, going to Arkansas, which has done a pretty good job developing those guys. And then the big news, I think, for Georgia, Nolan Smith's coming back. He's one of those guys that just hits you so hard. He never hits you easy. He just hits you hard all the time. All right, we got a lot more to talk about, including some of the we'll get to the net rankings, which you like to always give you. But, of course, we got all this other stuff. Alex Wesley Construction 12-pack was great. We appreciate Alex Wesley Construction. Love where you live with Alex Wesley Construction, but we still have to get to Adams Ribco to go, Hesser and Kipke, 3 Things, presented by Handlaw, and, of course, Leonardo's at Millhopper. We are live here from Another Dooley Noted Podcast from the Shackhow Mercandone Studios, presented by Titan MRI.
Car accidents, trucking accidents, motorcycle accidents, and wrongful death. If injured or killed by the negligence of others, who will fight for the compensation you deserve? Shackhow and Mercadante, 5 lawyers, more than 100 years of combined legal experience, millions in settlements and verdicts. Call Shackhow and Mercadante, 371-3000. Rebuilding lives.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Another Duly Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Fight Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it. More than 6,000 veterans take their lives each year, with more than 500 of them occurring in Florida. The Fire Watch Council was established to unite our warfighters and allies to stand watch and build a mutual aid network of veterans and civilian volunteers across Florida trained to identify risk factors of veterans in crisis and to direct those veterans to needed resources. You can invest an hour to join our support network by becoming a watchstander to stand in the gap and support our veterans. Go to thefirewatch.org to learn how to get involved, get off the sidelines, and take a stand on behalf of our veterans. Okay, welcome back to Another Duly Noted Podcast, of course, presented by Titan MRI from the Shaq Allen Mercandone Studios. It is time for us to go to Hesser and Kipke for the Monday spreads, as we do every Monday. Always fun to do those, and now it's kind of NFL centric because that's what we're really dealing with a lot. The Monday spreads, of course, are always brought to you by Hesser and Kipke, a law firm based in Hale Plantation, specializing in employment, workers' comp, and family law. Visit their website at www.hklaw.com or call Ken and Jennifer at 352-339-9920. The game tonight, which is part of our parlay for the Leonardo's and Millhopper to get 2 out of 3, and I think a lot of you have a good chance because a lot of you got the Bucks. But so that game, just to let you know, is 3.5 right now. The Rams are 3.5-point favorites over Arizona. I keep hearing conflicting reports. There's some people telling me the Rams are so banged up defensively they're going to get eaten alive, and other people say, look, the Rams are healthier than they've been, except for maybe a secondary guy, and they may be really good. I don't know. I want the Rams to win, and I'll watch that game, and it gives me something to do tonight, right? So they are 3.5-point favorites. Cincinnati is a 3 because we have the spreads out, but obviously we can't get it for the other game because we don't know who's going to win it yet. Cincinnati is a 3.5-point favorite, or underdog, I should say, at Tennessee. And that's a weird deal because we don't know how effective Derrick Henry will be. And Cincinnati offensively has just been unstoppable. It's going to be interesting. They're going to be great playoff games. 3.5-point underdog. Cincinnati is at Tennessee. San Francisco is a 5.5-point favorite at Green Bay. That could be a weather issue, as it always is at Green Bay. That's why we all live in Florida, right? In fact, I was sitting there watching one of these games, and I was telling Karen, I go, they said that it's 2, right? The temperature is 2. So I'm like, I'm sitting here, it's 70, I'm drinking a beer outdoors. This is why I love where I live. Talk about loving where you live. San Francisco, 5.5-point favorite. Underdog, against Green Bay. And then Buffalo is a 2-point underdog at Kansas City. Oh, man. Ooh, I tell you what, that is a tough one. That is going to be a great game. I can't wait to watch it. Give you a couple of college basketball games from tonight. Purdue, a 1-point favorite over Illinois. Should be a great game there. Want to make sure Ken Hesser, I give him some Big Ten there. And tonight, Notre Dame is playing at Howard on Martin Luther King Day, which is pretty cool. So they are, by the way, 11-point favorites at Howard. Notre Dame has been kind of up and down all year, but that's not the point. The point of playing a game is, to go to an HBCU and do something special here. And we're not going to get too political here because we try not to, but obviously I remember that day very well, when that happened. So also I'll give you some odds on the Australian Open since we don't have Djokovic to kick around anymore. Daniel Medvedev is the favorite at it's plus 140. Nadal is at plus 600. Ashley Barty is a favorite, and this is how disconnected I am with tennis. Used to be really connected with tennis. Not connected anymore. I don't know who Ashley Barty is, but she won today. She is a favorite plus 350. Osaka, I've heard of her, is plus 650. So those are your Monday spreads from Hesser and Kipke, and we appreciate them all doing so well. I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to give anybody, when we're due to Leonardo's Quick Picks next, and anybody who just emails me, just email me a name or your name. Your name. Okay? I know what your name is, Evan. So all you got to do is email Evan to patrickdooley54@gmail.com because he messed up the last episode and somebody complained. So we'll give you a free entry. And again, as you know, we got a few, we're building them up. But we had, what did we have, like 57 or something last time. So we may, I don't know if we'll get that many. So just for doing that. And then also get in. So look, the bottom line is the more often you get in, the more times you qualify, the more likely you are to get picked when we do it. The Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks for this game is another simple one. So you guys aren't even going to have to really work at this. Florida, Mississippi State, which team has the leading score? How hard is that? It's either Florida or it could be Mississippi State. Or it could be Florida. Still could be Mississippi State. So that'll be the Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks. Went over and visited Kyle the other day and enjoyed my time there, always do, and really appreciate everything that he's doing. And we're especially, and for the golf tournament, let me just throw a little bit out there. If you own a business in town, you're going to hear from me pretty soon. I'm about to go crazy on the golf tournament starting probably the 30th of January because that would make it 3 months out. And we've already got off to a great start thanks to Rick Davis, Chevrolet, unbelievable start. So we're in great shape there. But you're going to be hearing from me. Or just call me and then I don't have to bug you. All right, next up, we have 2 things left to do, right? I believe. Yes, we have the 3 things, of course. 3 things, and they're always presented by Hand Law. Hand Law, of course, a Florida law firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand Law by visiting its website at www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville, and we've got plenty to talk about. Now, number 1 is the Cowboys and what happened yesterday. Kellen Moore is the hot guy. Actually the 2 hottest guys, really, I think, in terms of all these coaching changes, are Kellen Moore and our old friend Dan Quinn. And I hope Dan Quinn gets a great job somewhere where he's a head coach because Dan Quinn always sends me a helmet wherever he is. So it'd be great if he went to the Rams. But no, they don't have a head coaching opening. There's a lot of them. Maybe we'll get like last year we got a Jaguars helmet, which we never get, but we finally got one because Urban was the coach. So if Dan Quinn becomes the coach, although he's already turned them down for an interview, so the heck with that. But the Cowboys lost. The other name, as I was trying to point out, was Kellen Moore, and they lost because they called a draw play with 13 seconds to go from like the 14-yard line and no timeouts. Well, things went bad, as you would expect. You don't want to ever put yourself in that position. The umpire or the referee ran up, he's got to touch the ball and down it, according to the rules. Didn't look to me that they were ineffective, although he did have a long way to come. Whatever. That's why you don't call the play, in case somebody else screws up. It's not so much that you may screw up, but somebody else does. And now Dallas fans are just livid. They would have had a chance to tie the game. And they're out of the playoffs. That part of it makes me happy. Although it's almost like I love rooting against Dallas. So now that they're out of the playoffs, I'm like, hey, who am I supposed to root against? I don't really have that same negative rooting for somebody else. But that was unbelievable. Number 2 on hand law, 3 things. Isn't it funny how in college football you have these 4 playoff or the 2 playoff games, well, 3 total, including the championship game, and everybody goes, there's one game that's a blowout and the other game's not about. Everybody goes, that's what's wrong with college football. It's never going to be. It's always crappy games. I just say nobody. And you played it on New Year's Eve and nobody said, yeah, no, you're right. New Year's Eve was stupid, but you can't make teams play well and you can't make the game close. But when it happens in the NFL, as it did with the Bills and Patriots, which we were all surprised, we were all looking forward to a great game there. But when that happens, you kind of everybody kind of goes, well, I got another game right after that. And I'll get or a game right before that, and I got another game tomorrow night. That's why you go to 12, right? That's why you go to more games. The more games you put out there for the fans, for the spectators, the more games you give them, the more chances they're going to be happy. The more chances they're going to have to watch a good game. It's like I've said before, you have 42 bowl games. Some of them are going to stink. They're just going to be awful. You don't have to watch them all, but some of them are going to stink. We do 42 games any regular week of the season. Some of them are going to stink. It's just the way it works. But it seems crazy to me. And that brings me to number 3 on hand laws, 3 things that we were sitting here again with. They had meetings last weekend for the College Football Playoff Committee. And to try to come up, all the 5 families get together, and they let Fredo and everybody else in too. But they sit around and go, "Nah, we still don't want. Well, we don't want." And like people, Bob Bowlesby walked out of the meeting. He got so frustrated. And there's just these people will not budge off this Rose Bowl thing. They want the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day at 5:00, and it's the only way it's going to. Anything will be voted on. Now, it's sounding more and more like it'll be the 25th or 2025 before we do get to a 12-team playoff. I think we will eventually, but it's going to be a while. But that's what I'm talking about with the previous thing on hand law, 3 things. If they had games, you had multiple games rather than just these 2 playoff games, you would have more chances to entertain us with great games that meant something. That's the thing. We talk about we need more games that mean something, and yet you don't want to expand the playoff. Look, I keep saying college football is idiot-proof. They're trying to convince me otherwise. That's all I can say about that. That is 3 things, or those are 3 things I should say, yes, presented by hand law. We try to be grammatically correct. Or is 3 things, or that those? That is 3 things, but if I said those are 3 things, if I said those, it would be R. All right, anyway. Them's 3 things. Let's go total Jacksonville on us there. Hey, let me tell you what, 3 things, howdy-toody. All right, finally, the Adams Ribco to go Gator of the weekend. Certainly not its last, but far from least. First of all, Adams Ribco is the greatest. But also, what an event Sunday. First one ever to be telecast on one of the 3 major networks for gymnastics. And Florida wins. And Trinity Thomas is the winner of our Adams Ribco to go Gator of the weekend. She started with a 10 with her first event, and she finished with a 10. Unbelievable clutch. That is clutch. And think about what you're doing. You're not just trying to catch a pass, okay? You're not just trying to block a guy that after years of being fed grain and, steroids and just trying to block a guy. You're trying to do all these flips and land perfectly. And if you land this far off, you lose a half point. She got a 10. They needed it. They won. Only the 3rd Gator to do the Gator Slam, which is to win all 4 events, have a 10.0 in all 4 events. In fact, I remember when McMurtry did it. Alex McMurtry was so tremendous, not only as a student athlete, but just a great person, as was Bridget Sloan. And Trinity Thomas has been great, too. I did a Zoom call with her during COVID, and she was great, too. So she is our Adams Ribco to go Gator of the weekend. We could easily have gone with Nia Reed, who also got a 10. And if she doesn't get a 10, then that 10 does not as matter. And that 10 may have caused the other 10. It's complicated. At any rate, a lot going on here around this. We're getting ready to get the baseball, softball are coming up. Obviously gymnastics is full bore going ahead. Women's basketball won again. They've got Kentucky, I think, Thursday, and then they go. I think it's LSU and South Carolina. I mean, unbelievable games that are going to be here in Gainesville. It's a place to be, man. Weather's good. We love it here. I played golf yesterday. Everybody else was going, I'm so cold. I can't feel my toes. All right. That is going to do it for today's Duly Noted Podcast. Another Duly Noted Podcast, of course, presented, as always, by Titan MRI. We appreciate Joe Calorio over there at Titan MRI, and by Shaq Allen, Merck, and Dante. Actually talked to Merck the other day over at the gym. So he's still looks like he did in college. Still about that same size. Guy's done a good job. Now, I don't look like I did in college. I will just say that. I'll go on the record and say that. I'm working on it. I'm trying to lose some. Anyway, that'll do it. We all done? We get everything done? All right, let's do it. So let's come back on Friday. Hopefully Chris Doring will join us. We just haven't 100% confirmed that yet. And then the HBC, I think next week we'll have. So we keep it going. Just keep banging away. We will be back with you on Friday. You'll look forward to it. Till then, I am Pat Dooley. For Evan, my unbelievable producer, I am deep, I am way back, and I am out of here.